Hello, holy friends. I intend with the next few classes to really speak about one of the, I think, biggest question of, of humanity. The question that we all ask is, who am I? And what's my mission in this world? So I'm gonna try to make short classes really. It should be one long class to see the whole picture, but let's try to make it piece by piece because it's really a huge. Our whole existence, we're trying to find out who we are, and I really believe it's one of the most important things. So I want to start with a question for you who is listening, and try to think for a few seconds, maybe a few minutes about it. So the question is, when you tell someone, I love you, who is the you? What do you mean, I love you? Hopefully, it's not like that terrible song, I'm in love with your body, says, when you love, I love you. Hopefully, you don't refer to the body. So, what are you referring to? To the personality, but what's that personality that you're in love with? What do you mean, I love you? So try to think a little bit about it. What's that you are talking about? So I want to start with the question about what's the book of Shemot. Why we have an entire book called Shemot after the first parsha. It sounds like names. You have the entire book of the 5 books of the Torah that is called names. And that's the book of Exodus, but which means the book of exile and Geulah. It's really it's more than Geulah than exile, because it's literally what really happened while we were in exile in Egypt, and we came out of it, but we're almost already in exile. The beginning of Exodus starts with the names of the people who went in Egypt, Mitzrayim. So, what are names? We know names are a reference to what our essence is. The word Shem, name, is part of the word neshama, the 2 letters of the soul. Neshama, there is Shem. So it refers to our identity. So the book of names seems to be, Shemot, the book of finding our identity. Now, the book of Shemot really refers to the identity of the Jewish people. They were Hebrews, and now Hashem is making them go through a process to become the Jewish nation, to understand who they are as a people, as a nation. But really, what I'm trying to convey here is that the message is, if we want to know who we are, what our name represents, we need to go through a process of exile and then redemption. That's what the process to find who you are. So therefore, what does that mean? That means that each time someone is going to really do the work necessary to find out who he is, he's going to be sent into exile. And we see that throughout Jewish history, starting with Adam, the very first man. What happened? Adam was, through the Etzadas of knowledge, which I believe the book of the tree of knowledge, really, it's the knowledge of who we are, what's our mission, what we're here for, and Adam wanted to know more who he was, and he knew that the Etzadas is that knowledge is going to separate him more from Hashem, meaning make him more independent to know who I am. If Hashem's light is so so, it's like you put a flashlight in front of the sun, right, looking at me. There's almost like there's no light. The light of the sun makes so much light that I don't see that small flashlight. And that's the same thing. If we are a little speck of light in front of the sun, imagining that Hashem is the sun, and we are a little light, it's like we are not existent. So therefore, I need to withdraw myself so much from Hashem's presence, right? So even though Hashem made a tzimtzum to allow a space to be an independent consciousness, Adam felt it was still not enough for him to know who he is. I need to distance myself. And it's interesting because the pasuk, one of the psukim in Bereshit seems to allude to that. When Hashem creates man, he says, Al ken ya'azov ish es aviv es imo, v'davak b'ishto. Therefore, man needs to, they translate as, he needs to leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife. So, his father and mother, that's Hashem. Hashem is our father and mother. We see that teenagers are going to be rebellious very often to find who they are. What's my identity? They're going to leave home, to be myself, not to be just a product of my parents or product of my environment. And we see this very clearly with Avram, the first one. Lech lecha, go to you, to who you are. And what he has to do, he's sent into exile. Abandon your home, your family, your culture, your country, your everything. And in a way, it's the process that every convert goes through. So every Jew went through to Sinai. So the convert is trying to have a new identity. He's trying to have an identity as a Jew. He even has to choose a new name for himself. So here comes the name again. So we need, whenever in our life we're going to try to find the true us, we're going to need to distance ourselves from all the major things that made us be, basically, who influence us to be who we are. But who we are is not so much then who we are, because we are a product of everything. We have been influenced. Our choices and our behavior, our personality has been affected by our environment. So we need to make sure that I find the true me within all this influence, within all this light. So this is exactly what happened to Abraham, and then to Moshe Rabbeinu, who had to choose if he wants to live an Egyptian or a Jew. And what happened? He was sent into exile in order to make that choice. Then we have also after Abraham. After Abraham went into exile, so to speak, we had Yaakov also, who was trying to find his identity as a Bechor. It's not going to be Esav. I'm going to take the mission of Esav. He's sent into exile. Yosef HaTzadik even more. Yosef, what he had dreams, he had a vision of who he was supposed to be, and he was misunderstood as who he was. He became the black sheep of the family, and he was really sent into exile. Then his brothers were sent into exile because they hadn't found their identities. Moshe ben Yosef, Moshe ben David. Then we have David HaMelech, who didn't know really his identity. He was in exile the whole time until he was considered a legitimate child, until the Shmuel Navi who came and said, yeah, this child is going to be the king. So he was in exile the whole time. So what it means, and then, right. So then we have us. And going back to Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef at the end, when he basically revealed himself, he said, Ani Yosef, that's me. And that's each one of us, right? Ani Michael. Ani, whatever your name is, you have to come to some point after your own exile to find out who you are. You're going to come and say, Ani, and your name. This is the ultimate geula, and we, as Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson and my Rebbe also said, that in each one of us we have those personalities. We have an Avraham in us, we have a Yosef, and we have a Moshe Rabbeinu, which means we have our own Moshiach for ourselves. You need to serve yourself. You need to figure out who you are. And so what's happening is that in life, each time you're going to try to find yourself and know who you are, you're going to have to go through a certain types of exile. Because really what's happening, we're in exile, it's like we're in the middle of nowhere, like the Jewish people who went, and then after Egypt, they went into the desert in the Midbar, and Hashem was molding them. He was making them through everything necessary to make them into the Jewish people, and all the challenges. I mean, that's my assumption, that my theory, that everything that we are going to go through in our life is going to push you to be more of yourself. It's as if pushing you to see how you're going to choose to react to certain things. And this is going to be your own choice. Hashem is pushing you to find your own midos, your own strength. Let's remember that one of the first things Hashem does with Adam is it tells him, I want you to name all the animals. Because naming the animals was the work for him to then name himself as Adam. Adam made that of who he is, but Adam is just general. It's like, I'm come from the earth, but it's not enough. I come from the earth. That's where you come from. But who are you, right? Who are you going to become? Who you are is who you choose to. Is going to be what the choice you're going to make and who you want to be. So Adam saw all the animals, and each one has a different strength, a different quality, and he needs also someone else, a partner, to find out who he is, to confront them with himself. And that's why his wife, we get married to be confronted, to have a reflection, to see ourselves in the mirror, know who we are, where we're up to, into how we react. Is to work on our character traits. Which character trait we're going to choose for ourselves? I'm going to be someone patient or not, someone giving or not, and to find out what we connect to in our life, and the talent we choose to develop, which identity we want to nurture. So my Rebbe says something incredible that put it all together for me. I find it fascinating. My Rebbe says that why you're in this world, you're in this world in order to develop your identity, who you are. And that whole service of Hashem is all here. My connection and my relation with Hashem is to nurture my identity. And that's why cutting from Hashem is so bad, because if I'm cutting myself from Hashem, I'm stifling my identity. I'm not able to develop my identity. I'm going to speak more about it after, but let's focus on that concept, which is fascinating. It means that everything I'm doing here is to prepare, to create, to shape an identity of myself for the world to come. I'm building, like I would say, we do today, people do avatars. I'm shaping an avatar. I choose what type of hair, what type of garments, what type of personality looking, and then I'm going to use that avatar in the visual world. So it's the same thing. I'm here creating an avatar myself, creating that I'm going to use in Olam Haba, in the spiritual world. So we here, my whole entire life is to decide who I am. And those is going to become based on the choice I make. So which means that every problem, every nachash, the nachash, like my Rebbe also says, it should be a zchut for him, he should live long and have strength and refuah shlema. Rav Simcha Lev Yosef Gadeza ben Shenachana. He said that the nachash, it was here really to push Adam and Eve to confront themselves, to decide if they're gonna eat or not eat, because they were not doing anything. They were not eating from the trees of the garden, and they weren't eating from the tzadaz. They were not doing anything, and so he brought the nachash to push them to really make something of themselves. So it's as if to say it's better to do something, even a